Hi, I'm Mayor Petro here, and I'm down at the Davis County Administration Building because I thought with the upcoming election, I thought it would be very interesting for you to know how your ballots are handled. And with that, I've got Curtis Koch here, who is actually the Davis County Clerk Auditor,
yes,
who actually runs the entire voting process for our county. So with that, Curtis, I'd like to kind of have you walk these folks through the process. I mean, they get their ballot in the mail. It's mailed to them this year.
Yeah.
And then once they fill that out, explain what you guys go through.
Sure. First of all, thanks for coming down. We love to talk about elections and help people understand what the process is. So I'm going to actually go before when people get their ballot, because I think there's some really important things that they need to understand.
Okay.
And that is, when they register to vote, we have voter registration records and rolls that we clean prior to ballots going out. And we use a lot of different databases for that. We use vital records, so if somebody passes away, we're gonna know that. We're gonna do what we can to take care of those records. We do national change of address, so if we know that people have moved, we'll clean up our records through that. We compare databases with other states, and so if we see a voter registration, a voter with similar personal identifying information in another state, we talk and say, okay, where are these people? Are they in Colorado or are they in Utah? And so we do a very extensive process to make sure that we get the cleanest voter registration list that we can. Once that happens, we send those to our printer. They pre-sort those, they send them back to us, and then we send them out. So they hit the post office, and on October 13th this year is when our ballots will hit the mailbox, or hit the post office. So on the 14th or 15th, people should start to see them, maybe even the 16th. If people don't see them, we encourage them to call us, pick up the phone and say, hey, I didn't receive my ballot. We want to know about that. At that point, we can say, look, it looks like it's still in process, or hey, we need to maybe update your voter registration. We want to hear from people.
Okay, what about if you have somebody that, say, moved into our state here just recently, or they've been here for a while and they haven't registered to vote before and now they want to?
Absolutely.
How can they, what do they need to do?
So if you go to vote.utah.gov,
okay,
we can do online registration up until October 23rd.
Wow.
And so we'd encourage people to go on earlier. There's a wave of work that comes with that, but we encourage people to register early, get registered. The other thing is, if they've just moved into town and you're going to update your driver's license, go and do that, because at the DMV, you can now update your voter registration there as well. And we get that transmitted to us, and we can update and move the process along. So there's those are the two easiest ways. If you need to, if you don't have access to internet, or you're not going to be able to get into the DMV soon enough, you can come to our office, fill out a form, submit it, and we'll take care of it.
With the COVID situation, do they have to call and get an appointment? Because I know in order to come in most of the buildings, you do have to have an appointment.
Yeah, and we have a drop box right at the front of our building.
Good, excellent.
So with some voter registration forms they can fill out there and take care of that. So yes, we're trying to protect our election staff and make sure that we're taking care of them and the public.
Okay, very good. Okay, so you walked us through the process up to the point where you get your ballot in the mail. Then what are some of the key factors that you guys watch or go through? Because I know you kind of explained this earlier.
Sure, yeah. So there's really 4 pillars, and we've talked a little bit about the first pillar of security, that being the citizens. Make sure you get your ballot. Once you mail it, you can go to vote.utah.gov again, and you can track your ballot. You can see that, oh, it has been received by the clerk. The clerk has it. It's going to be counted. If not, once again, let us know. We want to assist the voters. So the second pillar is that we have state statute that on an annual basis is looked at and reviewed. And we conduct the election per the state statute. We also have processes in place. So the state statute requires things like a public demonstration. We'll do that on October 9th. We'll have equipment out and the public can come in and watch as we demonstrate the equipment.
Okay.
We have logic and accuracy tests. So we test the equipment prior to running the election on to make sure that it is tabulating accurately and correctly. After the election, Lieutenant Governor's office runs the audit. So they tell us we need to see this batch of ballots, and we're going to compare those. So we audit and we go through the whole process. So there are systems in place. Signature verification. So it comes back into my office, the ballot comes into our office,
Okay.
and what's going to happen is, first of all, it's going to be scanned. So now the voter can go and look and say, hey, online, it's been received.
Right.
But then we're going to remove that. There's a tab.
Yeah, the little perforated tab.
Exactly. We pull
Which
that.
don't peel that off when you get your ballot.
It doesn't invalidate it, but yes, we prefer you keep that on. We'll
Okay.
peel that off, and then we're going to now be able to compare the signature on there with a database of signatures.
Okay.
And we have generally, I would say, anywhere up to 5 signatures that we're comparing. And we're looking, our staff has been trained in signature verification, and so they can look at it. And if they don't see a similarity, first thing we're going to do is we're going to elevate it to a more senior staff that has more experience, that has training, or a greater degree of training and time. If they don't see it, then what we're going to do is we're going to reach out to that voter. We're going to either call them if we have a phone number, we're going to email them if the phone doesn't work,
Okay.
or we're going to send them a letter and say, hey, we need to talk to you about your ballot. And the reason for that is because people's signatures change over time.
Right.
Now, once we've verified, and once again, every signature gets reviewed by a person in our office. So once we've verified the signatures, now the ballot goes to a machine that slices open. It just sits here and pulls. As soon as it's pulled, the envelope goes, it's dropped there. Now we have a stack of ballots here.
So it's like an automatic, it's semi-automatic sorter.
Yes.
That's what it is it's
Yes.
sorting. Okay.
And so we have 2 of those that move through. At that point, your ballot is scanned, and then no tabulation takes place until election night. So it goes into the database. This is something that's really important for our citizens to understand as well. We hear about hacking elections.
Oh,
What we
boy.
need to understand about hacking, if you're going to hack a network, you have to have access to the network. None of our machines, none of our election network is connected to the internet.
Oh, excellent. That's
So-
good to know. So that takes care of that security issue that everybody seems to be worrying about.
Right. Our server is locked up. There's a few people that know where it's at, and so the data gets transferred into that standalone server, the closed network, and at that point, we wait until election night. So we're processing ballots as soon as they start coming back in. We're doing all this, and the data is being stored but not tabulated.
Okay.
Then on
Well-
election night, at the appointed time, in June that was 10 p.m., it's now 8 p.m. this time, we will tabulate, it'll crunch all the data, and our first round of results are released. I say first round because we're still going to be receiving votes that evening from our polling locations. Those will come in, we'll add those in, they'll be tabulated, and then we'll release. We also continue to receive ballots through the mail that were mailed in a timely manner.
So explain that, because I know a lot of people, think
Yeah.
that if you drop it in the mailbox on election day, it's going to get counted, and that's not true, right?
That
I mean-
it cannot. It can be true, and it may not be true. And so, what we recommend in Davis County is we encourage people to mail their ballots the Friday before the election,
Yeah.
because state statute says it's a postmark date. So if Curtis takes his ballot and at 7 p.m., he's like, "Oh, I got to get this in." He runs over to the post office, drops it in one of those nice blue boxes, and drives off. There's a high likelihood that that's going to be postmarked the next day when that mail is taken out. And then when it comes to us, we're not allowed to count that. So we encourage people mail by Friday. We want to count people's ballots.
The Friday before election day.
Absolutely. If you go to davisvotes.com, there's also a list of ballot drop boxes. We will have one in every city. It'll be open 24 hours. You can drive up at 2 in the morning if you'd like, up until election night, and then at 8 o'clock we will be locking those. That's when the election ends. Drop your ballot in there. We'll be picking those up and tabulating those as well. So
okay. I think in Layton, isn't it? It will be at the conference center.
At the conference center, yes. Yeah.
So remember that.
Yes, very important. Like you said, there's a difference between mail date and postmark date.
Right.
So we encourage people to do their due diligence, research the issues, research the candidates. We also encourage them to mail them early, but we will take them until 8 p.m. on election day.
Okay. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time and explaining this. Is there anything more we need to know?
There is.
Okay.
We are now in a COVID world.
Yes.
And so in a traditional election cycle, we would have a in-person polling location in every city. And when we end this pandemic, we will go back to that. I can tell you that as the clerk, auditor that's over this, we will go back to that. In these times, we are doing what we can to protect our citizens, but also protect our poll workers and our election staff. So in June, during the primary, we had a drive-through polling location at the Legacy Event Center in Farmington. Mm-hmm. Some people may recall that was called the Fairgrounds back in the day.
Yes, it was.
But once again, I can't control volume, and so I can't promise that there won't be lines that day. The best thing you can do is take the ballot that we've mailed to you, fill it out. If you want to drop it at a drop box, at a post office box, we would encourage you to do that. I can promise you the same ballot that I mail you on October 13th will be exactly the same ballot that we print at that location. Okay. At 8 p.m. we will have poll workers and election staff at every one of those, and as soon as there are no voters in the vicinity of that, they will be locked and you won't be able to cast your ballot. So if nobody's in the vicinity at 8 o'clock, it's locked, and if they show up at 8:01, we are not allowed to take that ballot.
Okay. Well, and I know the same applies at the city level, like you said, at 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
So our city offices close at 5, and
so we strongly encourage use those 24-hour drop boxes, because in the future those city office drop boxes, they're going to go away because we're going to have that 24-hour access.
Well, excellent. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to explain the process, but I think if we could just take this one step further and show our folks what the machine looks like.
Absolutely.
I really want to bring the comfort level not only to our Layton residents, but everybody in the county, to let them know that you have a great handle on this, and we don't need to worry about the election. Just make sure you vote.
We are fortunate that since 2014, Davis County has been conducting vote-by-mail elections, this hybrid system with in-person polling, but primarily vote-by-mail. Okay. We are very well suited for this pandemic when it comes to elections.
Okay. Well, thank you, Curtis. I really appreciate that. Let's go take that tour now.
Absolutely.
So, Curtis, I really appreciate you taking us on this tour, especially showing us this room. I know it's behind security, a lot of steps you have to go through to get in here, but again, that's just showing the confidence and how seriously you and your staff take the election process. This is a massive room. I'm sure on election night it's humming, and you have a lot of folks in here, and I know that you have to have additional people. And I know I personally have participated, but explain that to some of these folks.
Absolutely.
How that happens.
Our poll workers are your friends, they're your neighbors, they come from all the communities in Davis County. They are residents, they dedicate a day. They're not highly compensated by any means. These are folks within our community that get engaged in the process. We have professional staff that are running this end of it, but on election day, know that your friends and neighbors. Once again, that's a check and a balance in the system.
Yes, it is.
These elections are by the people. They're being conducted for the people, and at the end, we have a safe and secure and transparent election system in Davis County and in the state of Utah.
Excellent. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this portion of my Monday with the Mayor. I know it's a bit long, but it's extremely educational, and I just want to encourage everyone to exercise your right to vote and make a difference, because as you can see, every vote counts. Thank you, and enjoy your day.